Welcome to another episode of Picks to Watch. With the mid-season update comes a brand new meta. We don't really care about that. So let's have a look at some of the fun and interesting champions that could be making their way to the Rift. If you hadn't guessed from the flute and the ponytail, our first champion is none other than the montage maker Yasuo.
Who says I can't handle my drink?
While there were no direct buffs to the Sword Master, many item changes have made him a popular pick. Doran's shield has been very quickly rising in popularity thanks to the additional damage to minions along with the regeneration that you gain from taking damage from your opponents. You also get 2 health pots, which is lovely. This means that shields are the way to make a sword user's laning phase easier. Who'd have thought? Additionally, cost reductions were added to both Zeal and Infinity Edge, which are core items for Yasuo, meaning he can hit his power spikes earlier into the game. Aside from item changes, Yasuo also does very well against control mages like Syndra and Talia, given his great mobility to dodge skill shots. Or don't dodge, just make them face the wind, and then laugh. Ha! Finally, with tanks once again on the rise, the 50% additional armor penetration that he gets on his crits comes in quite handy, making him one of the strongest tank shredders left in the game. Remember that while he does have a lot of mobility, that is heavily reduced in tight jungle spaces with no minions, so be sure to pick your fights where you can best optimize his strengths. Otherwise your sorries will be sornos. Keeping with the theme of swords, our next pick continues to long for a worthy opponent. It's Fiora.
You have already lost.
The Grand Duelist is well known for her ability to scale, but often it can be hard to get there due to her weak laning phase. Thankfully for her, tanks are the taste of choice for most players right now, giving her the ping cushion she needs to scale up. Specifically, champions like Galio and Sejuani are great opponents for Fiora as they struggle to force her out of lane, while also having highly telegraphed crowd control for her to riposte. For an artist of the blade, she likes to build a lot of axes, with a primary focus on an early Tiamat for wave clear, followed by a Black Cleaver into Ravenous Hydra later. The biggest difference is you may now see a Guardian Angel being built as a third item, because it now builds from a VF sword, the bonus attack damage synergizes well with her kit, and it gives her wings! It's at this point though that her split pushing power becomes almost unstoppable. However, remember that while her dueling is strong, that doesn't mean she can win that 1v5. Trying to fight a full 5-man unit is an easy way to say au revoir to your pointy stick. Seeing as we have a theme for sharp things, let's continue with our next champion, who's found a creative way to make feathers really sharp. It's Xayah.
The next one to call me edgy is getting choked to death.
The Bird Lady should be considered more of a scaling hypercarry rather than a laning powerhouse. Largely, this is thanks to her short range, which makes it easy for long-range AD carries like Ashe and poke champions like Karma to harass Xayah without much risk of taking return damage. I expect her to be picked into champions that don't have the greatest amount of lane power like Ezreal and Jhin to give her the freedom to scale. For Xayah, there are 2 build paths that are currently prevailing. The first is Blade of the Ruin King followed by Runans and Black Cleaver, which provides more kiting ability and tank shredding power along with a stronger mid-game spike. The second is Essence Reaver into Runan's Hurricane followed by an Infinity Edge. This build takes longer to have an impact, but it will be sure to rustle your feathers later into the game. Something important to remember is that Xayah has no dashes or escapes built into her kit aside from her ultimate. This means that just like trying to fly, you can either ascend to great heights or fall flat on your face.
Damn it!
Xayah isn't the only new champion looking to flourish their feathers, as our final pick to watch is the champion of charm, Roccat.
Party started!
The Birdman brings something new to the support role with his incredible mobility, providing new and interesting ways to create plays and opportunities for your team to capitalize on. He primarily focuses on creating picks or forcing engages, while also being able to effectively peel and protect his carries. What he lacks is wave clear and lane pressure, therefore long-range poke champions can often make his life rather difficult. He makes up for this though by being an effective roaming support. Ask your jungler to be your wingman and combine his battle dance with his grand entrance to show those other laners that there is love for everyone. When trying to impress the ladies, you should go for a Spell Thief's Edge, followed by an Eye of the Watchers shortly after. The bonus move speed from the completed quest passive synergizes beautifully with his kit, as his dash speeds are made faster with the more movement speed that you have. Remember that as a support, the influx of gold that you generate isn't the greatest, therefore you might feel tankier than you actually are. Be smart about your engages, otherwise you may realize your charm doesn't work on everyone. That concludes it for this episode of Picks to Watch. If there are any fun or interesting champions that you're expecting, be sure to hit me up in the comments section below. With that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I think I can make a pretty good Yasuo. I mean, watch this, okay?
Doggy!
I mean, that was pretty good, right? It was pretty good. It's pretty good.
A shot at the title. He can look for more. And Charlie's the target. This might be the quadra.
Having received the MVP award makes me want to receive it a second time as well.
It is Roccat who will prove that gods can bleed!
I'm for sure less scared than last bit.
Joko wants to protect his team from relegation. Where's the save? He does it! Joko gets the Baron.
Hello everyone and welcome to day 2 of the summer split. It is still opening week and we are ready to see 4 new teams hit the Rift in their first series as we see the crowd absolutely pumped for this Friday of games here live from Berlin. And Roccat, but he is carrying the Roccat logo. I don't know how he got his hands on that, and he's placing it on the wall where the coaches usually convene, so that is nice. Nice of you to help us out, buddy.
He's saying he's going to play Brom, stand behind me, rest Roccat ready for their game.
Or maybe Mithy will do that as we see G2 and also EULCS, who will be playing for G2 today. More about that in just a second. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eva Schogsborter here with Andrew Vettius Day and James Stress O'Leary. And he had a really explosive start to the split yesterday. We don't suck anymore. Anything you want to...
Today is a battle of the gods. Roccat versus G2. The ultimate clash of the best in Europe, sort of.
Sort of.
You don't even need me. I was just gonna,
All right, well, let's look back on day one because Fnatic and H2K, they showed that they are forces to be reckoned with in the summer split. First up, the opening match was H2K taking down Splice in a 2-0 win. We always got to listen to Trevor a little bit. And there we go, and it was absolutely dominating from H2K. Splice did not have a lot of answers.
yeah, exactly. That strategic H2K that we've come to expect in the regular split showed up once again. They seemed prepared for everything Splice were throwing at them, whether it was the Javan, trying to get Rift Herald early. Well, H2K hang on, and Game 2 looked like one of the most dominating performances, especially out of Odo Amne's Fiora. This guy was on fire throughout the entire game.
And it's worth mentioning that at the beginning of that series, Splice looked promising. It felt like to me they had strong individual performances, their communication seemed on point, but then come the mid-game, they just fell apart. They didn't know what to do, they didn't know how to handle the pressure from H2K, and my hopes are that throughout the regular split, Splice will be able to shore up some of these issues.
Yep, back to the drawing board for Splice and H2K. Fantastic start, as did Fnatic. They crushed Misfits Gaming yesterday on day one as well, which was a rematch of the third place decider. And well, it wasn't pretty, and it was much like that third place decider that we had in Spring Split. Misfits also didn't have any answers, and Fnatic just, they showed similar style than the style they had been winning with in the end of the spring split, and it's still working for them.
Yeah, it was classic Fnatic style. They brought out a bit of a niche pick with the Tristana. However, it does seem to me that the individuals just seem to be performing so much better. They went away to the Korean boot camp, and there were questions, will they still be able to perform, even though Reckless didn't go with them? But they seem like a stronger team than they've ever been. Jez is performing out of his mind.
Ever?
Like, okay, maybe not ever, but given their recent performances, they definitely seem like
given their one match win on day one.
Yeah.
Best Fnatic
Gotta
we
go
have
with those
ever
sweeping
seen.
statements, you know?
I think, though, that Fnatic that we saw in the matchup will be somewhat of the trendsetters when it comes to the patch, and what we see here with the tower pushing. Might not be the Tristana in every game from the AD carries, but certainly Fnatic looking dominant in Game 2 as well. They got themselves a record, getting the fastest game in the European LCS for this year already, and it was a very, very quick game up against Misfits.
Yeah, that it was, and you have to wonder how much of that was due to their usage of Rift Herald absolutely blasting through that mid lane, because yesterday was the first time we saw 7.10 in action in the EULCS, and obviously these are the most notable pushes we remember, but how much of an influence did Rift Herald have overall, you guys?
Overall, it had mixed performances. Like when you look at H2K's performance, they were able to get one tower. Same for Misfits, they could get themselves one tower and then not really much off the back of that, whereas when there's no contention, when nobody's there to clear it out and you don't really have the proper defenses to stop it, it can very easily just walk its way straight into your base.
Exactly. We've discussed a lot about how without a minion wave, Rift Herald's a lot less threatening of an
Poker in the eye.
Exactly that, right? The ultimate counter.
Exactly. Something that's less threatening, but way more influential. The Doran's Shield changes that we've seen come out. All the carries are buying them in 80 carries. Ven's vehemently said he's not going to, but the sustain that comes from this item can't really be overlooked. That's why we're seeing kind of the return of Thresh as well alongside that, with a lot of the adjustments to the support role. There's a lot of things moving in that bottom lane.
Yeah, and overall it seems like the kind of the compositions that we saw yesterday and the place that the meta is at is in a quite entertaining status. A lot of interesting picks up in the top lane, not too many tanks here and there, but we haven't seen some of the picks that we wanted to. Zag, Xayah have been absolutely permabanned, which was to be expected, but we want to see those on the Rift as well.
I think we might see them today. One may come through. You were talking a little bit about the ban priority, but it was 100% on Red's side. I wonder whether that'll maintain. I think it will. Zach, we've seen him one game or two in the LCK. He comes through and has a massive impact on the Rift, so I think the same can be said. I just wonder whether Xayah might sneak through a little bit later. I
think right now there's a lot of unknown surrounding Xayah. A lot of teams haven't had the opportunity to practice with her. Champions like Ashe and Varus are still very strong in the current meta, so teams are just banning her away because they don't fully understand how to play around her or against her. So I think there's just a lot of respect being demonstrated, but as weeks go by, I think she'll start to make it through the draft a little bit more often.
I think the interesting thing about Xayah is she has an influence on the draft that no other champion really does because of the synergy with Roccat. So many AD carries and supports are saying these two champions shouldn't be let together. So if you let one through, it either forces you to pick Roccat away or give away potentially one of the strongest duos We haven't seen them in Europe. It's hard to tell, but I don't think any team's going to be making that risk in week 1.
Well, fingers crossed they do, and we see it today. Let's see what today's matchups are. 2 more teams will be getting on the board as we start with a rematch of one of the most memorable series ever. G2 versus Roccat. No, not funny, okay. Followed by the Unicorns of Love against Vitality, the UOL, reigning supreme in Group B, all spring split. I'd love to see them on the rift.
Very excited to see the return of the Unicorns. Definitely know that the crowd is certainly hyped to see the Unicorns play once more. It's a very fun team, and these guys, they went away to Korea to prepare for this, for the summer split, rather. And it seems that while they were there, they were just honing in, getting used to the meta, developing their own individual skills, and now coming back. Their teamwork is what's going to be tested because they have the MVP, they have the rookie of the split. There's a lot of talent on this lineup. I'm excited to see what they can bring.
Yep, what they can bring versus Vitality. But looking at the teams on stage right now, we have G2, who after a series of failed international performances, they struck back at MSI, finally, we should say. However, for the lineup today, Trick and Expect, they are on a break back in Korea, and Perks is out for a medical emergency. That means that G2 has now 3 substitutes playing today: Sendo, EULCS, and Blanc from PSG. Not optimal, so we'll see what they can do.
And this is a situation that is rough for G2. When you look at it, Sendo, he's been playing for G2's secondary team, G2 Vodafone, over in LVP in Spain. He's been quite successful over there for a period of time, but obviously no LCS experience to speak of. EULCS, the jungler that comes in, will be a name that people should be quite familiar with. The last we saw of him was in Schalke 04, who didn't quite make it through to the promotion tournament. And then, as you said, Blanc. PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, one of the teams that was touted to be looking very strong throughout Challenger that, again, didn't quite make it to the next stage, comes in as a last-minute addition to this G2 lineup.
And I think it's worth mentioning that a lot of these individuals did have great performances before they've come here, because Blanc, in his in the game versus Fnatic Academy, which they did end up losing 3-2, he was one of the big carries in that series. And same for EULCS. Throughout the regular season, Schalke was undefeated. So it's not like these guys don't know how to play, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with the power bottom lane as Sven and Mythic.
Yeah, they'll have to, they also, for these players, it should be a chance for them to play on the big stage and see what they can do. And Blanc will be saying, well, I got a Blanc page, baby, and I'll write your name. It's fancy. Right? All right, well, things don't get any easier for G2 today, because they will be facing off against the team that stopped their undefeated run in the EULCS in spring, Roccat.
We have to remember that there have only been 3 teams that have taken a series off of G2. And the first one is the LMS. Number 1 seed, the Flash Wolves. The second is the 3-time world champion SK Telecom T1. And the next is Roccat. These guys were able to take a series off of G2 last split, and this is one of the best opportunities they could have to take another one.
Exactly. It's somewhat of a golden opportunity, obviously. Roccat, a team that are very understanding when it comes to situations like G2's. They're always very good on the receptive end of that. So they've come into this match saying, it is unfortunate, but at the same time, when do you have the opportunity to take a series off the team that is expected to be the number 1 in the group? And that would put them in a class of their own. 2 series wins against G2. That's something not even SKT can claim.
Yeah. Well, it is still going to be difficult for them. They have a change coming in. Maxor is out, and Pride Stalker from Misfits Academy is in. And if we think back to, they did have a 6 match win streak. Yeah.
They won a lot of games.
They won a lot of games at the end of spring split, but we can't forget that they did have trouble adjusting or finding their form and finding the wins throughout the rest of the spring split. So with that change coming in, how will that be affecting the team?
This is an interesting change because Pride Stalker settled himself in on the playoffs of Challenger quite well, but was inconsistent in the regular split. He's a very young player, very aggressive player, comes out of solo queue and is quite talented, but at the same time, you don't know what that shot calling ability is like. That's somewhere that experience and lots of games on the LCS stage specifically actually earns its weight. And it's a tough test for him. Yes, we saw him demolish EULCS the last time these two stepped against each other, but this is still G2. There are still 2 members of a team that have been incredibly strong, and I expect this still to be quite a close series.
Yeah, we will see what happens there. In terms of predictions, Vedius, I know that you're all for the big storyline, so 2-0 for Roccat, am I right?
It's almost certainly going to be a 2-0 for G2.
All right.
Interesting. I feel like G2 can very much win this. I think 2-1. Roccat have the ability to do this. This is a very weakened G2. It's not the kind of situation Roccat will want to get this win, but nevertheless, with their lineup coming in, they should be able to do it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know how much the mental aspect of LULEX and Pride Stalker, because LULEX, you know, he's a guy that loves to talk big on Twitter, and maybe the mental effect will be like, oh no, I'm going to demolish this guy this time around and carry my team.
Oh, LULEX is definitely out for revenge, and I think that we saw earlier today on Twitter that Sven, he's feeling confident. He still wants to be able to take a win home for G2. They want to look to try and get themselves another undefeated split, and while it could be difficult, they want to be able to break the curse, the thing that's loomed over them all this time. It's still, I feel, in their favor, especially given that Pride Stalker is very new. He's very likely going to be nervous on the LCS stage, especially representing Roccat, who are trying to come back from what was a difficult spring split.
That's why I think you build it around Sven for G2 here. Get him a carry and just put everything on his shoulders.
Yeah, we're forgetting the X factor, though. What did on Roccat? He'll
What
make
did?
them all feel comfortable. Anyway, we will see if the Roccat squad can take down the EULCS champions as we send it over to our casters for game 1.
Thank you, Shocks, and welcome to our first series of the day. I'm Daniel Dracos, joined by Martin DeFiscio-Lunga for this matchup. Now, all right, DeFiscio, explain this to me because I see 5-man strong roster for Roccat, all the players that they picked out for themselves, and I see 3 subs on the side of G2, but I still hear our analyst desk predicting in favor of G2. What's that about?
I mean, I think it's a risky prediction. Obviously, Roccat had been scrimming all off-season, preparing for this match specifically with these 5 players, so they should have the advantage and they should be favorites going into this one. But you can't forget that Sven and Mithi are still sitting there on the stage, and at MSI, at certain times, G2 were lacking a few members on stage as well, but they had an AD carry. And in the late game, that AD carry could actually win them games. So it is definitely not like a G2 lineup that can't do anything at all, despite having 3 subs.
Definitely not. Well, speaking of lineups, let's take a chance to look through them. We'll start on the blue side with Roccat in the top lane. It's going to be Foxy. In the jungle, coming in is Pride Stalker. Mid lane, Betsy. AD carry, Hjarnan. Their support, Wadid, and Coach Grabs coming in to back up the team as well. You know these names. They were here last season, but now Pride Stalker coming in as well, so not too many crazy changes.
No, but it's still a big change. I feel like Maxlow was one of the main shot callers on the team, and he's obviously stepped over to Misfits right now, where we then have Pride Stalker coming in, who did just qualify to the LCS with Misfits Academy, and actually had some really good games in the promo tournament. So I'm kind of excited to see him on the big stage now. I think mechanically he's very gifted, and that's what they got to utilize.
What can he do up against G2? Because when we take a look at that G2 roster as it comes in, 3 new names for those of you unfamiliar with the changes. Sendo will be coming in the top lane. LULEX in the jungle. Mid is Blanc. AD carry, Sven, support Mithi, and Coach Youngbuck. Those last 3, I'm sure you know.
Yeah, and again, if you're super confused, you know, why you're seeing all these different names, it is just for week 1. We have Trick and we have Expect. They're in Korea taking a bit of holiday because they didn't have any breaks before MSI. And of course, Perks is now out sick, sadly, so he couldn't join his team, and they had to get Blanc coming in very late.
And of course, with 2 substitutes already, they now have to field an emergency substitute in Blanc, and that is unfortunate for G2 because it does mean that they are going to lose both bans in the second ban phase as we get closer to Champion Select, and that could affect things pretty heavily when we look at it.
Oh, of course. I mean, this makes it even harder for G2, which is, again, where the advantage should go in favor of Roccat. Now, first game, Roccat on blue side. If you are Roccat now, and you know there's no bans in the second phase for G2, you should be able to try and get at least one good solo lane matchup for yourself. G2 not able to then ban away certain counter picks if they want to take, let's say, Galio in the top lane. But G2 most likely feeling forced to also ban like Azaya. They have not practiced a lot coming into this after MSI, so I wouldn't be surprised to see her banned away, but for now, she's still open.
And while we can be happy that G2 did not take a vacation before MSI, taking those breaks now may cost them here in the early weeks of the EULCS regular split.
But it's week 1, right? Like losing 1 week, it doesn't really matter if you're a team expected to win almost every other series. Because you obviously just want to peak around playoffs. They actually left Zaya open.
Okay. All right.
Admin.
Does G2 have to pick Rakan? Will we get to see Zaya and Rakan kill each other?
But like Mithi returning from MSI, has he practiced enough Rakan to pick it? If you don't pick it, Roccat will lock it in, and the European teams, they all agree that is the most broken 2v2 lane you can draft right now.
God, I'm so excited. But now we see EULCS getting his hands on a staple jungler as well, maybe hoping to make some early game impact. And I feel like with Xayah already locked in, we can expect fights around the bot lane just constantly.
To make it even better for Roccat, if they get Rakan as well, they've already banned 2 supports. So they're pushing Mithy on like a Lulukama if he doesn't want to play this new champion that was obviously not enabled on the MSI patch, and he didn't take it. Oh, these guys.
Come on. Now, there's no guarantee Roccat will pick it.
Yes, that's a guarantee. They're going to pick Rakan. But actually, they don't have to do it right now because there's no bans from G2 in the second phase. So G2 can't actually ban it away.
But they get first pick in second phase. Maybe it's a Lulu.
Yeah, but I don't know. Okay. They're not going to pick Lulu.
All right, well, we see Pride Soccer taking his time on this selection.
Just give some Elise. There we go.
There. Hovering over the Warwick, maybe some Rengar, old school Rengar shouts out for the former one trick, but now bringing the Elise here onto the stage.
Okay, so you got AD carry, you got support, top lane. They can wait with that if they want to. They can take Rakan if they don't want to show anything else. We are like 99% surely going to see it, but the question is just when do they pick it, seeing as they don't have to take it this early.
Galio now locked in as well. Pretty strong top laner coming in for Foxy, potentially a mid laner for Betsy. We know he kind of likes to bust out some of those more unconventional picks. And already Fiora banned off the table, one of those things that we have seen have some success into Galio.
Yeah. I mean, Gangplank was a pick G2 introduced at MSI against Galio, but obviously that was expected, not Sendo, who's the man sitting in the top lane for this one series. G2 right now, yeah, gotta remember they don't have anything that can really remove. So now they're showing the Caitlyn that is trying to match AD carry, and then it's on Roccat now to ban away any sort of picks they don't want to deal with.
And last season, Yarnan and Wadid were pretty confident that they could win a lot of these 2v2 matchups, and they are definitely going to be tested playing a new AD carry on stage up against one of the most obnoxious bottom lanes to lane against, the Caitlyn Lulu.
And I actually like Caitlyn against Xayah. I think long-range AD carries are pretty good against her to try and get some trade advantage early on. G2 obviously just running down the clock, can't really do anything with it. I also think G2, like if we have to just talk about the first 3, I actually like the fact they match AD carry and they already have the preferred jungle pick and also a support for Mithy, because otherwise you would risk Roccat pinching those roles even more. Like imagine 4 support bans and then Xayah and Rakan in favor of Roccat. Like that would have been very hard for Mithy to deal with.
Or the AD carry is taken away. Now you have Sven and Mithy, the 2, we can safely say, strongest players on this lineup with solid picks in their hands. And if they're looking to make an impact, if they're looking to carry this game, it's definitely the safest way to set it up. Although to be fair, we don't know what to expect from Blanc, from EULCS, from Sendo. These guys could have solid performances.
Of course, Blanc plays like a lot of different control mages. Like most play these here in Europe, like Azir, Victor, these kind of things. He's played a lot of Ryze as well. Like Orianna is available. She is still a very safe blind pick, especially with Lucian banned away. Would not be surprised to just see Orianna here. But I could also just last pick for him mid and then say, okay, we know it's Galio, or we expect it to be Galio top. Let's lock in our top lane pick against it, being it the Gangplank, being it another tank. And then we have like a pretty decent setup for Blanc to get a counter pick.
Solid place to be. See what Sendo wants to stick towards. 5 seconds left. It will be the Rumble locked in for him. A lot of power down there in the top lane. Maybe not the strongest matchup into Galio, but can still push those waves quite easily.
Yeah, and forces now Betsy to obviously show his mid laner, give Blanc the counter pick. Betsy is a Swain guard. We always have to remember the Swain with him. Has taken it blind as well in the past. Definitely wouldn't be a weird thing for him specifically, but Syndra is available. And Rakan will guaranteed be locked in. There we go.
There's the OTP. All right, I said yesterday that Hans Sama and Ignar would get weird comics drawn about them if they were the first duo lane to play these 2 champions together, but now it's going to be Yarnan and Wadid. I didn't know this was going to come, but this is fancy
I
too.
really expected Xayah to be banned over something like Lucian. G2 might just put all the eggs in the Sven basket. You know, we said it before the champ select. If they go Karma, Lulu mid, and then you have your Caitlyn, they do. Okay, this is just late game.
Look,
Sven will try and carry.
You said it yourself, Fischio. There were games, there were matches where certain members at MSI did not show up, but one man who was a constant was Sven.
Yep.
And now with everyone else on the team gone, just the bot lane remaining, makes sense to kind of build around them. So if you've ever wanted to see if Sven can fight 5 people simultaneously in a team fight, this is definitely the game for you. But on the other hand, Roccat, I mean, this is a really strong lineup. We don't know much about what we can expect from Xayah and Roccat because it never makes it through, right? But we know Syndra is strong, we know the Elise is strong, we know the Galio is strong, and if Xayah and Roccat do what players have told us that they do, what we've experienced in solo queue from that terrifying duo, this is going to be a pretty Roccat-favored draft, it feels like to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, they have Syndra mid, which is considered the S-tier mid laner. They have the best bot lane possible in the current meta. And then you have a safe tank top lane for Foxy as well. So overall, a good draft. But I actually think G2, in their situation, came out okay despite giving Xayah and Roccat over, which is, of course, the big what if they just pop off and you are completely done?
I don't know. Well, if you have faith in Xayah and Roccat, if you have faith in Roccat, hashtag ROC win at LOL Esports on Twitter. But if you believe in G2, or at least 2/5 of it, hashtag G2 win. Perks, Trick, and Expect are not playing, despite what
it was a bait.
said.
They are not playing, yes.
Blanc, Lulex, and Sendo subbing in. Representatives from the LVP, the Challenger Series, coming in to back up G2 this week.
This is the way some of the football clubs have an impact on the EULCS. Sending Lulex in from Schalke, Blanc from PSG. And of course, Sendo coming from G2 Vodafone, playing in the LVP in Spanish. You just highlighted Dracos. And I'm super excited just because we get Xayah and Roccat in the bottom lane. And not only do we get them, we also get them against the best bot lane in the West. So that's a nice little early test for these two.
All right, game one, Roccat blue side, G2 red. Xayah and Roccat versus Caitlyn and Lulu. It's probably going to be the only thing we talk about, short of some crazy action here in the early game, because it is worth getting excited over.
What about a crazy pause?
Was that what you're going to say? What about a crazy what?
Well, I actually saw it on my other monitor. It was going to be a pause, so I kind of
baited me.
Baited it, and I was like waiting for the pause to happen. It seems to be on the side of Roccat.
If I were with Deed, I'd be surprised I got Xayah and Roccat too.
Yeah, maybe he's like, oh, this character looks weird.
It's just a bug. They ban this every time. There's no way this made it through.
So Xayah, Roccat, obviously when they are picked together, they have a few bonuses. I think the most important one to highlight is when Xayah uses a W, gets the attack speed and the extra damage. Roccat gets it as well. So it's very, very easy to early push and early trade as a group. And that's something we're going to notice early on. But once, as I said in Champs, like Caitlyn is a good pick here because very long-range AD carries can get a lot of auto attacks off on Xayah, where she can't always properly trade back. And there's a Lulu as well. It's support Lulu, Karma mid. Like the trading power from this bot lane of G2 is very strong.
And realistically, when we look at the way that these two function together, or even individually, a lot of what they do is really telegraphed, right? Battle Dance, the ability for Roccat to leap to his allies, very quick, pretty fast animation. But Grand Entrance, the knock-up, super telegraphed. Caitlyn has the tools to get out of that. And as well, Xayah with the Blade Collar, the ability to pull back to snare enemies. Very similar to Kalista with that Rend proc. You know that damage is coming. You can see those feathers on the ground. It's easy if you're someone like Sven, who's very good at positioning, to avoid a lot of that damage.
Now it's important we have the camera on the bottom lane when the minions arrive. Again, Xayah, Yanan here, started with W. So that is, again, the attack speed steroid. That also gives a bit of extra damage on the attacks. Will automatically, of course, proc her passive as well, Xayah's passive, where she will start shooting through multiple minions. So you can already see right there a lot of ways to start pushing that wave early and try and rush to level 2, where then your Roccat can actually start playing very aggressive. You see Ignite as well on Wadid. You can go for early kills if you are playing this lane as soon as you hit level 2.
Something we'll have to keep our eyes out for as we move forward. Now, Wadid.
Did you cut out for a moment there? Or?
I accidentally pushed my mute button because I was going to cough and then also talk at the same time.
It's very rude.
Do that.
Very rude of you, by the way.
To push my own mute button. All right. For now, just a defensive start coming in for G2, protecting the Lee Sin, getting him the early Raptor camp. Elise happy to solo it out on the opposite side, although Betsy may have given a bit of support with the Dark Sphere. This doesn't matter. Instant down dance and Deadly Plumage. They're all inning at level 1. Sven is going to have to back out here. That is massive for Roccat. Maybe a little too excited about these two characters, but that was aggressive.
Sven did not expect that instant all-in right there. He doesn't have any ways of really escaping it other than flashing. And again, that's what you can do when you can combine multiple abilities. Because again, whenever Yanan clicks his W, it's actually built to working on both champions. And so hard to deal with this duo together. And I want to see if all the scrim hype pays off. Right now, we are expecting them to do well. And we are, of course, expecting Roccat to do well here in the first game.
And we're waiting on this level 2 here as well. Minion dies, level 2 comes in. Now Hjarnan and Wadid not quite aggressive enough to instantly dive into this tower, but they have absolute control of the bottom lane despite
Which is
the
fair
pushing
enough.
power.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
You don't dive the tower level 2. I like Wadid's move here. Early push into ward, into take the blast cone as well. So there's actually really no way for EULCS to properly gank the bottom lane, which means Sven and Mythi are stuck down here all alone.
If anyone can beat the terrifying duo, we do expect it to be Sven and Mythi, the 2 members left standing on the G2 lineup, or at least the original lineup.
And we should note that these guys came home from MSI. They were never the entire team together after MSI. People went on holidays, took some breaks because they didn't do it before MSI. And that's obviously why they haven't really been scrimming that much on the new patch. They haven't really been practicing with these subs a whole lot. As we highlighted earlier, Blank came in last night. So they haven't really gotten to play anything with him. They probably just told him, can you play a supportive champion mid to buff our AD carry? Yes, check, here's Karma.
And it works out for them, but this is, of course, the choice that G2 made. Admittedly, a bit of a risk. Did not expect Perks to be out sick here, but 2 members were calculated. EULCS and Sendo were going to play this week no matter what, and this is the choice to take a vacation after MSI to give up these early weeks performance and trade it for an improvement in performance at MSI. Definitely worth it, I think, for the European fan base.
100%.
But it does mean that they are vulnerable.
And it means it's a really good thing for Roccat. The fact they get to play this lineup here in the very first week on stage with Pridestalker should make it a bit easier for them, without saying the game is won straight away, because there is still some good players on the side of G2 you gotta beat.
Once again, the desk predicted still in favor of G2. So much confidence. And I mean, Mythi, of course, known, veteran shot caller, huge source of leadership. Maybe he can take some of these players that we don't quite know what to expect from and coordinate it into a solid strategic comp, I say, as there's a Caitlyn that everyone is clearly supposed to protect. Feels like it could just come together if they get late enough in the game.
Now let's try and follow Pridestalker. He's on his way towards the bottom lane. There's no flash on the Caitlyn. And obviously there's no blast cone because that was taken by Wadid earlier. And Pridestalker is a man that in the promo tournament and in the playoffs, the Challenger playoffs, played extremely well. And I think that's why a lot of the LCS teams suddenly started looking at him after he qualified, saying, okay, this guy, a lot of talent, very young, straight out of solo queue into now some of these games last split, and suddenly he finds himself in the LCS.
Definitely some impressive numbers. I mean, keep in mind that a lot of his victories during the Challenger Series playoffs to get into that qualifier match were against EULCS himself, so has a history of doing well. But while Pridestalker's doing well, it's a similar story for Foxy in the top lane, and already Sendo really getting bullied out here. Foxy, a member of Roccat we've come to expect more from as we've looked forward, but definitely dominating in this lane.
Yeah, the Foxy Taxi, the name was born in Spring Split during the win streak of Roccat, where he picked Gnar almost every game and dumpstered whoever he was against in the top lane. Not exactly Gnar this time around, Galio. Still very good in the laning phase. Great start from him with triple Dorans, pushing in the Rumble 24/7. And yes, we are expecting a lot from Foxy here in this summer split. He's one of the guys who really needs to perform if Roccat wants to make playoffs.
Absolutely, a lot of pressure. Roccat are coming in with, remember, they haven't lost since the end of last season. Would really like to start on a good note. And there's a lot of people skeptical. Without Maxwell on the team, will the leadership be the same? Will the team be able to coordinate as well? For now, solid early game, but have to see more as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the people who's been skeptical, simply because Pridestalker and the team here, I think it's going to take time before they really click and can match some of the other teams, some of the other top teams in Europe. Now, that's not saying that, you know, by week 4 or 5 they're not going to look very good. But I think it's going to take at least a few weeks before we really get to see what these guys can do. Obviously, this first game kind of gives us a weird feeling because, you know, if they beat G2 2-0, it's a great start.
And
but
it's such a rough spot for Roccat, too, you have to respect. Rough spot for both these teams because Roccat win. Oh, you won, but it's against a slightly weakened G2.
Right, yeah.
If Roccat lose, it's, oh my god, you got spanked by G2 with 3 subs. And G2, they're just happy to find a win, but they definitely are just not happy to be in a situation where Perks couldn't be on the lineup in week 1.
Yeah, you know, I talked to Betsy before the game. He was like, he's actually super sad that he's not playing against Perks because he wanted to try and challenge him now after that great MSI performance. And then Perks is out sick and he's playing against Blank, who's a guy he probably didn't expect to play against today. And not exactly the same as playing against Perks in his current form.
And you have to respect it. Perks putting on an excellent performance at MSI, and if mid laners are looking to improve, that's a guy you'd be happy to 1v1 to practice up your laning prowess. And as now level 6s are starting to come in, ultimates are starting to be available. Grand Entrance goes forward, but just going to battle dance out there. Wadid.
There's another bonus with a very long range for Sven. Like, he can stay far enough back that the range of Wadid to knock up is not always a threat against him. Like you saw right there, he just stepped backwards very quickly, didn't get hit by the knock up. His flash is back up right now, so G2's bottom lane here been able to do just fine despite that level 1 where maybe they didn't expect the instant all-in.
And Wadid just continues to go forward every time the Grand Entrance is off cooldown. Hungry for a little bit more, but Mithy.
Got respect now, Jan level 6 as well.
Now the Featherstorm throws out a decent amount of those as well, so you have to be very careful. At the same time, Mithy with flash available should be relatively safe.
Yeah, more people looking to join the party. No, PrideStalker takes the blue. Betsy goes back here. G2's bot lane respecting the fact they could get killed under that tower. Steps back in, but yeah, Xayah ulti I think is the best ability for her, the coolest ability. Simply because, again, you can jump up in the air, you can't really be targeted, you can't die straight away. And then when you spawn those 5 feathers, when you use your E, you pull them back straight away. Extra damage, land the snare. It's a lot of burst up front. That is super, super hard to deal with if she can actually chain some CC with, well, let's say a Roccat.
And that's a terrifying spot to be in if she gets a lead, when she can just leap forward and be aggressive, when she doesn't have to worry about using that cooldown defensively. But feels like if Hjarnan falls behind here, you no longer get the option of using the Featherstorm quite so aggressively because it's your only defensive tool on this character. You don't have the double dashes that Roccat has. You don't have the net that Caitlyn does. And you can put yourself in some risky spots.
Oh, they're looking for bot lane again. Blank is getting pushed in mid over and over, so Betsy's moving first. Haven't been able to sync up and actually kill Sven and Mithy simply because the G2 bottom lane, they're just stepping away from the tower. So they're actually playing it smart, but obviously the tower is taking damage. And Xayah can just perma-push this lane here, just use one ability to proc that passive, and you just keep going, man. Keep going. Oh, they can sync up the recalls as well.
Oversleep. OTP, running forward. Mithy now in trouble. Oh, that's a lot of damage. Buddy's going to do his best to save himself for now. The quickening not quite enough to take him to safety. Has to dodge the trap. EULCS is there. Not anything else going to come. Oh, flash over the wall.
All right. I think EULCS is respecting the potential danger despite a lot of guys being around. Everyone in here in the audience are kind of waiting for that first kill. They came in expecting a bit of a fiesta, and now they're getting this like slow and steady early game where it's a bit of a farm fest.
We were misled as to the nature of this lane when they all-ined at level 1 Deficio and then did not fight up until that point.
Well, they tried, but they were out of range every time because the man on your screen, Sven, managed to stay out of range with this Caitlyn, and the numbers you see there from MSI, same kind of numbers we can see in this game. Probably the damage percent would go up to like 40% instead.
I mean, there's an entire team comp built around him, so.
Exactly. I mean, to be fair, there's a Rumble who will steal away some percentages, but like still, Sven is the man we're looking at to win this game for G2 if they can get it to late game. So far, it's actually working out pretty well. They're dead even in gold at 10 minutes, and
a pretty decent CS lead for the Caitlyn as well. More than even we saw at the MSI numbers, so already putting on a pretty solid performance for his first game back, despite the time that G2 has not practiced.
I'm actually surprised we haven't seen PrideStalker really do anything on Elise. Like, you pick a snowballing jungler who shines in the early game when it comes to ganks. You have a CC top you can use to gank with. You have CC mid from Syndra. You have CC bot lane. Like, every lane actually allows you to gank it because they have ways to set up this target right in front of you that you can just cocoon and you can kill them. He's hovering mid, but very defensively, more to just allow Betsy to push out the lane and then roam. This is a good move to go down to the bottom side. We'll get spotted though once again, and nothing really comes from it.
Roccat just slow and steady wins the race.
Like, you can literally just dive Rumble with Galio Elise. Like, force his flash from that one, and then you can return gank, or you can start taking tower.
You have to wonder, maybe the confidence just not quite there for Roccat. First games on stage, we saw it yesterday in the first Fnatic game. We saw it in the first H2K game as well. Teams have been telling us that first game on stage is rough. Hard to execute on those big confident plays. You don't quite feel like yourself. So you got used to the settings again. You've gotten used to the pressure maybe of playing in front of a crowd, especially for a young guy like PrideStalker.
And you're afraid Daniel Dracos will flame you if you make a mistake. Like, that is your brand.
I will.
That is your brand.
I am the guy who flames people.
Exactly.
I didn't know that, but I guess he said it, so it must be true.
I mean, once I said it, it's out there now, so
they know.
They all know. To be fair, I don't blame PrideStalker, but I think then his team needs to guide him. Like, the team right in needs to help, like, hey, come, you can go mid now, we can gank, we can do this, you know, come top, we can dive. Like, you can kind of micromanage him, There we get to sync up recalls. I actually like the fact you can just kill the last few minutes and then you step together. It's so beautiful. They're gone.
7 seconds saved, ladies and gentlemen.
He was farming while the support was recalling.
Ooh. Look at that time efficiency. You know what that is? That's 7 Cloud Drakes worth of movement speed back to lane. Well, now Betsy, it's very slow, it's very steady. Betsy's going even. Rumble's falling behind a little bit, and Sven is starting to crush the CS differential. But there's a Blade of the Rune King now finished on Hjarnan. Is this what they need to all in to try to kill this lane one more time?
Well, again, as I said, I think Roccat has so many options. Like, there's so many lanes. They go top lane, go bot lane right now. I like the Betsy roams to bot, try and take the tower. Push out the lane, then lane swap to top, take Rift Herald, and use that to break open the mid tower. Suddenly, wide open map, multiple towers down. It's what you can do with the new Rift Herald. If you win the bottom lane, you can use that to take one tower and go up and grab that Rift Herald right after. But it requires them to actually get the tower down. You can see in your minimap, always you have Pridestalker Betsy hovering towards the bottom side. But they're not been able to execute on tower or dive because G2's bot lane are playing just so safe.
And you can see Sven and Mithy, so much confidence as Sven continuously just steps forward to throw auto attacks out. Not worried about Wadid, just gets the movement speed steroid, the shield from Mithy, and starts to poke back and forth. But now LULX just have to lead back out to safety.
Yeah, and this is the dream for G2. You know, no Rift Hill going down, no early towers dying, no one is actually getting kills. Played a slow game. We know Mithy as a shot caller, even with new players, can guide a team in the late game quite effectively.
True. And especially here in the early game where everyone's to a certain degree on their own. Pretty simple plan for G2. Don't die.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't give anything up.
That's why LULX flashed, you know, earlier. We just instantly be like, nope, not going to take a chance here. I'm just going to flash away from this one straight away. I just know if I don't die. We're just farming. We're going late game. It's all great. It is MSI all over again, except no one is getting early advantages against G2, like we saw at MSI.
Exactly where they want to be. Happy to pick some scaling options.
They're trying now, though.
Quickening, knocks it up at the grand entrance. Going to maybe battle dance out as the Elise does come in. Mithy taking a lot of damage here in the exchange, but still not going down. TP counteracts it, but not going to be needed.
Get that full combo again, though, where Hjarnan, you know, lands his ulti, then takes all the feathers back and roots Mithy in place. But the Lulu ulti coming in clutch, and a good TP from Blank as well here, just to stop Roccat from further stepping forward. And now it's actually G2 looking for a play.
LULX coming down. Hjarnan very vulnerable. Without the ultimate, going to have a hard time being safe. Nice block coming in from Wadid, though. Good awareness. LULX flash now available. Maybe going to look to kick it back, with both sides just backing off here.
They're playing it so safe. LULX didn't even go for ulti. He was like, should I go for this one? Am I overextending against teleport? No, you know what? Get a bit of damage and step away. Just give Sven some more farm. Don't want to risk being the man, making sure this team falls behind. So LULX, a guy who is famous for his pathing, his early aggression, his Lee Sin, like a lot of things LULX have managed to succeed on in the past and with. In this game, he's been farming and shown bot lane twice and stepped away.
Now we've come to know him as the god of pathing, self-proclaimed, but
definitely, yeah,
appears to be the god of farm.
Some people say the pathing genius. Yes, pathing.
Trick
Nirvana
calls him the jungle pathing god.
Yeah, I mean, it has become a known thing in the pro community in Europe.
I think the word you're looking for is it meme there, Martin? Not quite a thing.
I don't know. Is it a meme? Is it a fact? I'm not sure.
Well, right now it's about farm. But maybe there's some particular moment of brilliance we're waiting on here with this Lee Sin. As he is headed to the top lane, maybe looking to shut down the Galio.
It's just hard to kill the Galio at this point. He has so much MR against the Rumble. Pridestalker, though, joining in with LULX's style here of just farming, which, again, as we highlighted earlier, is not the most efficient use of an Elise. It's actually rather poor use of Elise. The crowd and the fans at home do believe Roccat comes in as not exactly heavy favorites, but slight favorites.
60-40, G2 did garner a lot of fan support after their incredible performance at MSI, but people maybe not quite as confident to vote in their favor with 2 out of 5 of the members that did so.
All right, Pridestalker, I just want to see you go in and try and gank for a second time. I just want to see you do something with the Elise, change CC, burst someone down. I don't care what it is. I just want to see you do something. We had the one bot lane gank. Let's return.
All right, Martin, follow me on this one. Well, I see an aggressive engage here, but there's flash, there's ult, ignite soon to be up on the side of Roccat. Now they're gonna have that ignite before Mithy has that exhaust. Maybe this is the 10-second window where they can go in.
I just feel like, why does Betsy have heal?
Huh.
He's leaning against Karma. Like Ghost, Ignite, something.
No.
Anyway.
Apparently a lot of faith in Blanc's kill pressure, or maybe a lot of respect over to EULCS here, opting for a more safe summoner spell.
Yeah, because heal's not going to help him in late game fights when Sven is sitting on 3-4 items. EULCS is even able to get an Ocean Drake here for his team. Roccat not having a whole lot of control in this river, and it's turned into a game where everyone is just focused purely on farm. And that is, as we highlighted multiple times, in favor of the team running the Protector Sven comp.
This is the equivalent of 10 of those invites in your Facebook inbox. Come play Farmville.
I'm glad they stopped.
Yeah, me too. Can't turn those off. So many people had to get blocked. Not the case this time around. G2 more than happy to keep playing Farmville. Keep working for it. And you can see Wadid hungry. Constantly looking for the engages. He looks like he's going to find one. Ignite does take down. Featherstorm up and available. Flash forward. Pull back.
There we go.
The Blade Caller. First blood for the Xayah Rakan duo. Now they have to run for their life, though, because there is the equalizer. Now comes the heroic entrance, though. The Foxy Toxy not going to let his bot lane go down.
Doesn't matter. We had a first blood. We had a kill, Drakers. That's all we needed. I'm happy to see it in the bottom lane as well. Yanin and Wadid together. Great engage onto Mithi. They tried so many times, and they didn't manage to kill anyone, but this time they do get a kill, and they won this bot lane tower.
First you don't succeed, try again. And now they're going to continue this forward.
Oh, they actually go
Roccat
for
looking
mid lane
pretty
tower.
comfortable to just continue this. There's no equalizer to break the tower. Of course, a Soul Flare coming in from the Karna could just kill the wave instantly.
Yeah, but they do actually allow G2 to defend by going for mid tower here. Bot lane obviously was quite open with Mithi being dead. Tower had already taken quite some damage as well, but mid tower is low, so let's see the engage once again. Wadid W in, and then he uses a Lancer stun trade on Mithi. Ulti comes after, but Mithi will obviously die from Xayah's ulti when she pulls back the feathers right after. Good burst combo.
Just a little bit late on the polymorph there from Mithi. If he does it just before the Blade Caller comes in, maybe he lives, but cannot get in range to do so. And just well executed in the end on the side of Roccat.
Yeah, now again, we are very close to seeing a lot of gold going in favor of Roccat. Like top lane tower is low, mid lane tower is low, even bot lane tower is taking some damage. Sadly for Roccat, they don't get a Rift Herald. It's gone now, 20 minutes, so they can't use that to break open the first tower. But at this point here, they should be able to break either one of the 3 outer turrets. Like, it doesn't matter which one you pick, it should die.
And if they can break down that bottom lane tower, Rakan, not necessarily known for being insanely powerful in lane, right? This is a guy who can roam, who can set up plays anywhere on the map with that insane mobility. So maybe Pride Stalker, Wadid, they can team up and try to generate a bigger lead. Because once again, G2 are just playing versus the clock right now. They just survive till that Caitlyn gets 3 to 4 items, and we see Sven do Sven things.
So it's on Roccat. I like your point with Rakan roaming. I think his lane ganks are insane. E onto your ally in the lane, then W straight forward. If the target doesn't have a flash, well, then you're going to hit the target, knock him up, and you're going to obviously be able to kill him. Foxy top lane could call for assistance and take the tower. Betsy mid lane could call for assistance and take the tower as well. Or you can go bot lane with 4 members. You really have all options right now if you're Roccat.
Not looking to do anything too aggressive, too risky. Maybe not a whole ton of faith in these guys that they can out-execute the opposition.
This is fine, though, if they commit.
EULCS now moving in. Going to try to steal away this blue buff. Makes sure Syndra is a little bit disadvantaged here in the early laning phase.
Okay, now they're committing.
Now they're committing.
Hand in hand, Pride Stalker Betsy. The bot lane tower. Just go.
The CC.
There's no TPs, just go take the tower. There we go.
Wadid. Not going to be able to get anything else, but they will manage to break open the bottom lane tower. Does give the opportunity now for Sendo to push in on the top side, but just can't do anything against the wave clear of that Galio, and that means a decent advantage going over to Roccat. Yes, it's about 22 minutes into the game, but that is the first sizable lead we've seen all game.
Took some time, but they did get it down now, and as we highlighted before, the 2 other turrets, mid and top lane, are very low.
Oh.
Betsy using ulti, and now you can see multiple guys from Roccat around this mid lane tower here. Want to just take that one down, like snowball as fast as possible, take all the turrets, start stacking some Drakes if you can, but actually no, there's 2 minutes on Ocean Drake, and you don't want Ocean Drake now. You want it like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, not quite. You want Drake RNG not in the favor of Roccat while they do have the advantage, but they are going to look to break open this mid lane tower. Earlier damage on the Blanc does make it a little bit more difficult for him to approach. That's the second tower for Roccat. Kind of just slow and steady here, playing out the game. Hjarnan, he walks away every time just so he can do that. Just so we can make this.
They cancel it.
block. Flash to safety, go in, quickening, that's the chain CC now moving forward. Blade Caller not going to connect, however, out goes the Feather Storm. Without the Blade Caller to back it up, it doesn't mean a whole lot.
I didn't see if the charm actually landed from Wadid before he jumped out. This is one of the combos you can do, as we highlight again. It's so easy for Roccat to just jump that great distance, you know, jump to your ally and jump towards the enemy. Blank had no flash after he used it to dodge the cocoon. Problem here for Roccat is, by them actually getting interrupted mid, they just lost bot lane tower. More gold going over to Sven, who's already sitting on 2 full completed items. And G2 only down 1k gold.
And really, we can say Roccat definitely winning the game right now, but when it comes to scaling, you have to respect G2. Most importantly, you have to respect Sven. He's got Mithy, he's got Blanc to back him up, and we don't have to kid ourselves. Look at Blanc's build. He knows what his job is on this team. He is not 1v1ing anybody. He is just making sure that Sven has the tools to do his job.
Poor Blanc, man. He expected to come in here, show what he had on the LCS stage, show some great moves, some, I don't know, the Blanc. And then he get told by Mithy and Youngbuck, like,
So I've got a different idea.
What about...
What if I told you there's a champion that just pushes the lane and makes Sven better at his job?
Nunu mid.
G2 does love the Nunu.
Yeah, but when you have Lulex and Lee Sin is open, you can't really force him on Nunu.
Very true.
Maybe next game.
But it's important you bring it up, right? Because these are a lot of players who may want to prove themselves a bit more on the LCS stage. Lulex hasn't been in the LCS for a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
Blanc was competing in the Challenger Series. And Sendo as well in the LVP. Maybe wants to prove, you know?
100%. Like, that's the important part is, even though it's 3 subs, it's important for Roccat to get off to a great start and kind of show what they've been working on in practice. And it's important for the 3 guys on G2 to prove themselves individually. And I think right now all they've been going even in lane top, they've gone even in lane mid. At least in terms of farm, sure, the mid lane tower went down, but Roccat gone for more.
Going in, there's the engage, now getting the chain taunt, backing it up, getting so much damage down. Sven is down, that is the key member now as Roccat push forward, maybe looking for a little bit more. Winds of War comes in, taunts available, but no flash coming out from Foxy. Now just the wave to push forward.
Yeah, the reaction time is just, it's almost impossible against Roccat when he flashes on you right there. Lands the CC, knock up charm. Once you get hit by a 1, second one will follow and you just go down. Sven had flash ready, but really nothing he can do once the engage happens onto him. So Roccat 3 towers now, Dracos.
You pair that charm with that knock up, the quickness comes out, flash, grand entrance in. You're charmed, you're knocked up, you're knocked out. All too easy on the side of Roccat to just keep executing, and we can see Sven, no QSS yet, no real option available. Maybe if you can cleanse the charm and then flash out, but it's already so difficult to deal with that engage option.
I think you just try and go, do you go Mikhail's maybe? For like a Mithy, he wants Ardent Sensor as well to buff, actually you can go Mikhail's here. Definitely, if you want to add some cleanse. Because if you're a Sven, you need damage, you just need pure damage. Like, you are the man who needs to carry. And you should have enough protection with multiple shields. If there's something that can maybe get you out of chain CC.
This is so rough, right? Because he also feels like he needs a QSS as well. We look at it, every single member of Roccat has a way to lock Sven down.
Oh, they're going for him again now. Remember Roccat in these long lanes here. With his mobility.
Deadly Plumage, Pride Stalker moving forward. Leap up, go down, not gonna swap forms and look for the cocoon. And it just feels like G2 are just biding their time. Once again, just waiting. Taking time for the scaling comp to move up, but in the meantime, Roccat are just chomping at the bit. They're looking for some action. They just want to force these kills. They want to get these picks and look to get something bigger for themselves.
Yeah, at this point, honestly, you can set up for Baron. Like, push in mid and top, get deep vision in the jungle, start the Baron, and just engage over the wall. Like, you have so much CC in your comp. If you land 1, you will follow up with like 5 other CCs, taunts, stuns, cocoons, whatever it is. G2 on the way to try and stop this one, but they're reacting.
Moving forward, looking for a little bit more. TP comes out on the backside, but there's no one there on the team really to back them up. Wadid has the ult available, but no flash. Foxy locking up Sven. CC continues to come in. No cleanse effects available yet, but no damage to back up Foxy. Starting now backing out. Is going to step on a trap. But nothing else is going to come from this.
Sven can't really kill Galio at this point. He needs some armor penetration as well, but he needs a lot of things. That's always the problem when you're playing these late game AD carries. Roccat, though, actually giving G2 quite an advantage here by them just rushing the Baron and not properly clearing out the vision. Because it bought some time for G2 to now regroup and get a bit more gold and get some push in these lanes.
Now both teams just kind of grouping up in the mid lane. Sven going to go to the side, look to pick up a little bit of extra side wave farm to continue to build those items, but the rest The team just happy to hold Roccat in that mid lane. They have enough wave clear with the Lulu, with the Karma, to make sure that Roccat really can't push for anything else.
We're just looking for a pick.
Fisher, we're just waiting.
We're just waiting, baby.
CC. And this is the thing about these first games, Deficio. Everybody plays scared. Everybody plays with so much respect. But for G2, I think it's the right choice. Right now, as you said, Sven just doesn't have the damage.
There's one little ward outside the Baron pit. Roccat didn't use a sweeper yet to actually kill it, so it's been branding vision for G2 for quite a while. It's gonna disappear now. They can definitely go and try and place another one. So Roccat is say, screw the Baron. Didn't work for us. Back to pushing, back towards Baron, back to pushing, back towards Baron.
And that's a terrible
I was 100% expecting a series where we would have like 40
kills.
And you would be screaming non-stop.
That's what I was thinking too. But here we are, 2 kills, 28 minutes in, Deficio.
Yeah. Save your voice though. Recharge. Get ready for that one late game fight that will decide the game.
I already like screamed at a single kill for Xayah and Rakan like 8 minutes into the game or 10 minutes or whatever.
So you feeling exhausted now?
Yeah, I'm a little. Can you do the shouty part?
I'm not really good at the shouty part.
I'll analyze stuff, I guess. Betsy has the new Banshee's Veil. Fun fact, no longer a tank item. Now gives you AP.
I don't think you need AP or magic resistance here. I think Betsy's playing too defensive with his summoner spells and item choice. Again, it's practically just the rumble damage that's gonna hit him at first. It's like your goal as Roccat is just to burn through multiple shields.
And realistically, you never have to get that close to the Karma in a lot of these fights. She has one major burst ability. If she's already on top of you and the snare is gonna connect, you're probably dead anyway.
I think you just sit on the Negatron cloak and then not upgrade it into Banshees yet. Just sit on Negatron, like, get a bit more damage, but okay, it gives 70 AP, so it's not bad in that sense, but it is a very defensive-minded Betsy here in the first game on stage.
And once again, just shows the caution coming in for both sides. Ulec sets the ward up, hops back out to safety. And it's interesting because Roccat, as a team, set expectations pretty high at the end of last season. And I feel like maybe that's what's weighing on them now is because they're going up against a weakened G2. And they beat the good G2. They beat the full 5 members strong, no question marks, best team in Europe, G2. So for them now to struggle against a less than whole roster has to feel pretty rough for a lot of the guys that were there for that victory.
I mean, they are still ahead, you know, they're still in an okay position in this game, but it's also obviously losing the shot caller from before. Obviously also, I said Negatron, I mean Null Magic Mantle before. Still the thing when you gotta get used to the new items.
Let's forget. Old Abyssal build path.
Because Negatron now actually only builds into Wit's End, if I remember correctly, as like an offensive item. Actually, no, it doesn't even build into any offensive items.
Wit's End, and then Abyssal, the new Abyssal mask.
It's just Wit's End, yeah. It's Wit's End, and then Abyssal is a full tank item now. So, Negatron Cloaks, rushing that as mid laner, it is no longer viable, sadly. No Magic Mantle.
Gargoyle Stoneplate. Let me tell you about
You can't rush that one.
Tank Syndrome mid.
Almost seeing it in this game.
Please no.
We're gonna get Gargoyle on Foxy though. The Gargoyle gets the Gargoyle Stoneplate.
You remember, of course,
down it again, down it again.
All the vision's down. Roccat slowly burning this one down. Lulek's ready to make a steal, trying to make a name for himself. Wadid gonna leap out to safety. Foxy over the wall. The Baron's still burning down, but Roccat don't know what they want to do here. They're backing off.
They can just finish it.
Moving forward for a little bit more. Are gonna get it in the end. G2 not a whole lot of options to fight this one out, but Lulek's maybe gonna be a bit hungry for blood here. In goes the ultimate. G2 slowly chasing. Foxy now in trouble. Will get burned down. That's one back for G2. Roccat still take the Baron.
So in the end, still worth it for Roccat here, rushing it down. They almost disengaged from it, and I think they realized, oh, we can actually finish it in time. G2 did not react instantly. Lulex was not in there to try and steal it. First Baron for Roccat, but they still only have 3 outer turrets down, and Sven is now on another turret here in the mid lane.
Decent spot to be 2. 1.5 attack speed items, a bit of armor penetration means he's going to be a little bit better equipped in the fights, but still not the 3-item, 4-item Caitlyn we expect. Just bits and pieces to kind of suit the needs of the team right at this moment.
This is basically MSI all over again. Sven is now slowly but surely getting towards his 4th item. We go like 45 minutes into the game.
And in a lot of these games, it's hard to adjust. We can see Sven now leaping forward, though. Oh, he got caught! Not dead yet, though. That's a lot of CC coming in, but not enough to lock him down and knock him out. Going forward, there's the taunt. They're going to get down Mithy. That's one kill coming in for Roccat. Things looking pretty good as they start to push up the mid lane. Double daggers, not going to connect.
Woo! Close one, close one. Sven did survive. Sacrifice his support. Someone needs to die when you catch the AD carry. Ended up being Mithy going down, despite having both summoners available as well. But I think he was surprised by Jonan's combo right there with the root into the stun of Foxy.
Now the siege is coming in. Foxy pushing on the bottom side while the rest of the team maybe just looking to take this tower, but still a ton of wave clear on the side of G2. Yarnan doing his best to take down the tower. A little bit of CC goes down on the LULEX. He's going to need to run. Spider goes up, but nowhere for her to come down quite yet. Immediately into a trap. Sven's going to try to grab a kill. Flash forward. LULEX does get one back. Now kills are being traded back and forth. Foxy on the front line, though, and it puts him in a difficult spot because Sendo doesn't have the resistances to keep himself healthy, but the team's got more than enough shields. Down comes Redemption. Foxy not even worried. Does get the two-man taunt. G2 walk right into it. That's block going down as well. Out comes the Blade Caller. Mithy, though, still going to survive. Oh! Kill. Damage out of nowhere. Sven now running for his life. Flash forward for Yarnan. He wants his montage moment. He wants his highlight reel, but he's just going to have to settle for that inhib tower.
Finally, we get some fights here. Roccat win in the end. Get inhib as well. A lot of guys going down from G2. Sven did stay alive for basically the entire fight, but now Yarnan on Xayah here. Able to pick up kills. Like, Vintage is completed for him. He's so strong at the moment, and let's see the replay again. They catch LULEX first. Good stun here from both Betsy and Pridestalker. And then it's obviously Spider up, Trap comes down, so Sven believes now he can get a kill.
And I feel for LULEX right now. He says, this is the man who beat me in the challenge.
I need to kill him. He didn't kill him. He didn't kill him, to be fair. And at this point, actually looks really good for G2. It's like 4v3, but then you have to respect the damage for both Betsy and Yarnan. Taunted onto Blanc into a full damage combo from Betsy and Yarnan right now. And then, of course, Mithy also stepping in and getting, I believe, rooted.
Yeah, walks right in to the feathers there on the ground. Not at all what Mithy wanted to do.
And I will say, it's so hard in team fights to play against Xayah because you don't really pay attention to these small little feathers on the ground.
I mean, look at the difference. Caitlyn Trap blinks at you. Xayah Feather's just a little purple icon on the ground. It's so difficult
And then you got things like the Cinder Bowl is down there. You got a trap as well. You got a dead tower. Like, there's so many things on the ground that you're already looking at. All these little feathers, and she gets so many down in the late game fights because she just keeps proccing her passive and getting multiple feathers on the ground. It's like really annoying to play against. The Q applying 2, ulti applying 5. Like, you can already see now how many small feathers on the ground.
Oh, and he goes though. That's going to be the combo. Galio now coming into the backside. Oh, that's a wombo! Equalizer comes out, but it's not even going to do a thing because Foxy just going to back off. Decent damage comes in for Sven, but that's the coordination we were waiting for from Roccat.
It's like they got a taste of the blood right now. Realizing, okay, we just keep forcing fights, you know, we don't want to let Sven get even further in towards the late game.
I mean, I'm kind of skeptical Roccat taking it slow, but 1-0-4 the scoreline for Betsy. Tanky build means no deaths yet, but 4-0-4 for Yarnan, 0-1-8 for Wadid. Xayah combo, maybe not end-all be-all in that laning phase, but definitely making huge waves here in these team fights.
And it's always the important thing to highlight, you know, when you have these scaling comps. It's not like you can't beat them in the late game, but just the chances of you winning fights just get smaller and smaller and smaller the further you get into the late game. But because Roccat just set up such a beautiful wombo combo, of course they can still take down members of G2.
And the thing, too, is, as we look at this again, Xayah does a ton of damage. She's just short range and vulnerable, kind of like a Vayne.
With Deed, dives forward, flash W into the combo with, of course, the Galio ulti and everything from Yarnan. What a great setup from them. Hard to react when you don't have a flash ready yourself, because how are you going to get out of that flash W from a Rakan?
You get the knockup, you get the charm, you get the Galio knockup after that, and all that time Yarnan has to just throw feathers in the middle of the
fight. And then you can pull them back, you keep people in place again. And if that's not enough, well, maybe there's a stun from Betsy, maybe a cocoon from Pridestalker. There's no Mikhails on the side of G2, no QSS either. So they actually have no way of really getting out once the first man is getting hit or got hit.
And Sven not even opting for a rapid fire cannon, a little extra range here. He wants the Phantom Dancer, he wants that damage reduction coming in a lot of these situations. And you can't really say you blame him when you look at Yarnan, because I was saying earlier, the scaling for Xayah is crazy. It's just that she's short range. She's vulnerable. She doesn't have a whole ton of tools to get in and out of fights, but when she can go in, I mean, there's crit scaling, AD scaling on the blades as well.
And attack speed steroid from the W, which always is important in the late game. That's actually one of the things that Caitlyn suffers from.
Yeah.
So it is hard now also because Sven, he's hitting a full tank Galio, where Yana, he's hitting a mixed damage, mixed tank Lee Sin as the front line of G2. So it's very, very, very hard for Sven to kill Foxy fast enough. With the Gargoyle Stoneplate as well, you just double that HP once you're in the middle of the fight, like effectively like 50% damage reduction coming in straight away. So you gotta kill the Galio twice in that sense. And it's just hard when you're the single damage dealer that your team relies on in a fight like this.
And the most obnoxious champion to play against in the Galio. Once he starts that taunt channel, you're not locking him down. If you stand next to him, if he's anywhere near you, he's still gonna taunt your team. You're still going to have to hit him, and once one source of CC comes in from anyone on Roccat, it can be followed up by any other member of the team. But now PrideStalker, he's hunting for it, looking forward. Miffy once again, not going to be in the middle of the fight because it's Blanc who gets caught out. Sven now
Great
backing
save.
out, thank you. Mixed up the karma, but good karma coming in for Roccat. They take down the opposition, another Baron up and available for them, and they can just take this one down. There is Lulax up and available, but no smite means it's going to be pretty tough for him to take this.
Ace bot lane as well, killing the wave. Much better shot calling from Roccat the last 5 minutes with how they've been able to force these fights here. A lot of division into Wadid, unnoticed, obviously catching Blanc here in the mid lane, and it's what we expected when you have a team playing with the 5 starters who prepared for a few weeks for this. Yes, okay, some issues with the overall shot calling from Roccat because they've replaced Max Lore. But G2, while they rely on the one guy to carry, they don't really have a whole lot when you look at them as a team because they haven't scrimmed together.
Yep, not 5 members who've had a ton of time to practice. And additionally, we can see Roccat don't have the same struggles. When they get to play as 5 members, when they get to group up, they make solid decisions in these fights. They can absolutely execute on these combos. Sven, though, taking a bit of poke here. A lot of harass. All eyes have to be on him on the side of G2, and he takes a cocoon. Immediate chain CC. Down comes the damage. Down goes Sven. All too easy for Roccat. The blade caller's coming in. Clean cuts left and right as Yarnet makes his mark on the opposition. That's the triple coming in for Betsy. There's the quickness, but no one's going to get taunted up, and it just does not matter because Roccat are in control of this game. Blanc gets a kill back, though, and that could be the saving grace for this G2 lineup.
Well, let's see if they can actually defend here. Foxy's going in.
Justice Punch going to miss. Taunt does go in. Sendo not going to get knocked up either. The CC is missing, and that means Sendo has the freedom to clear out these waves, but it's triple Baron empowered cannon creep to break that first Nexus tower. Additionally, members going down. Roccat, no problem to clean it up now because the CC comes back off cooldown. Sendo not so lucky the second time around and takes a little bit of time, but in 40 minutes, Roccat are going to find their first win of the summer season.
Slower game than expected, but at the same time, we can't really blame Roccat. First game back on stage with a new jungler. Like, you also, if you're Roccat, you just don't want to risk giving anything over to this G2 lineup with 3 subs. You don't want to risk falling behind early game because of some dumb mistakes. So, can't really blame them too much, but there are definitely things they want to look at.
And when we looked at this draft, we said, Sven, man, if this guy makes it to late game, like, Roccat are done. What we didn't
say
see,
they were done. We said that was G2's win condition.
Right? But what we didn't see until they came together as 5 was how well they could execute this Wombo combo, how well they could use all the aggressive mobility, all the aggressive initiation that Wadid brought to the table on this Rakan to set the Galio up, to set everyone else up to just dish out damage.
I mean, and that's again the important thing about like Xayah and Rakan together is just when you land the stun, the knock up from Rakan, it's so easy for Xayah to get enough feathers down to then further CC the target and just land a ton of burst damage and AoE damage as well. She's hitting multiple targets most of the time in a fight. So a really nice setup from Roccat to engage the late game fights. We obviously just want to see things happen earlier. Earlier focus on getting the towers down. Earlier focus on forcing some of these fights here around the Baron. But apart from that, they showed what the comp can do in late game fights, and G2 also showed some inexperience, funny enough, playing against Xayah and Rakan.
Yeah, definitely maybe a pick that they're not used to seeing. Well, Roccat are just 1 win away from taking the series against G2. Let's find out what our analysts think about that game 1.
Well, they need to be penalized because Verius thought that G2 is going to 2-0. Plus his picks to watch say that Yasuo is going to be a pick to watch. No pick nor ban. I don't know, man.
Yeah, but Xayah and Roccat were.
Yeah.
2 of my 4 picks to watch have made it at least through today. And let's talk a little bit about why they were my picks to watch. Because the cool thing about this duo is we heard a lot from the pros coming into the first week of LCS that this duo is strong. Right now, the power to all in, the ability to wave clear, the fact that this partnership has so much power during the laning phase is what makes them so strong. And what we wanted to look at is, in particular, how these 2 individuals tried to play the lane.
And you see it when instantly, level 1, nobody's hit level 2 yet. This is at the beginning of the laning phase. They go right onto Sven, get the laning advantage for themselves. And G2 do hold themselves through because Caitlyn can do well, but these exchanges are just whittling down the G2 lineup again and again. This is a laning strength that I think if you're not prepared for it, can kill easily.
And we just really wanted to demonstrate the all-in power that this bottom lane has with each other, because the thing about Rakan's ultimate is it becomes very difficult to dodge if you use the animation cancel properly with the flash into the ultimate. We'll have a good example of it here from Wadid. You can see if you flash into WR, there's nothing you can do to get out of that. And Sven himself, he just doesn't have the reaction speeds to be able to dodge it. So it creates a very reliable engage tool that you're always going to have available to you. And it nicely set up for Roccat to find a lot of these fights and get these fantastic wombo combos that they got throughout the game.
And that's the difficult thing is there are a couple of combos that you can do, whether it's ult flashing, cancelling, and you're right on top of somebody. You have to try and predict what Roccat is going to do before he actually does it. And that's very difficult when there's so many different options available. And as you said, the crowd control layering, everybody on Roccat had some form of hard crowd control to get on top of Sven, that as soon as one hit, Galio comes right into the fight, everybody's locked down by the charm. It's a disgusting composition that Roccat ended up getting, and it worked very well at picking out Sven.
And a couple of cool things for any players at home that want to be able to pick up. If you are playing with Roccat, you want to start with the W because it does give you a lot more pushing power, as the casters are talking about. But also, it was interesting to see that we actually saw QMax to have a little bit more trading power going up against the laning opponent. So I thought that was fascinating. It adds a little bit more to your laning power as well. And the build path was pretty fascinating from Xayah as well.
Yeah, we saw the Blade of the Ruin King coming out. There have been other builds. Hans Sammers talked about Essence Reaver for a little bit late game damage. Wasn't lacking late game damage in this game at all. So very fun to see Xayah and Roccat. We talked about how we weren't expecting to see both of them.
Yeah.
Turns out without bans on the second
Definitely.
phase.
And I mean, that's absolutely also the right path from Roccat to take, because I know we've been joking a bit about, you know, the G2 is not their super strong lineup and all the legacy of Roccat beating G2 as the only team. But for them, this is super serious. They have to pick the most broken compositions that they can and do everything towards getting that win if we look towards how the rest of the summer is going to evolve.
And I feel like this game, they played fantastic too. It was slow. There were definitely rooms for improvement, a lot of question marks around Pride Stalker, how proactive you're going to be, but what we wanted to take a look at was how they played around this Baron in particular. Now you can see that Wadid moved up very aggressively to try and get some deep vision down, and one of the slight criticisms is there's not full vision control. Right now they have a lot of vision in the center and the entrance to the pit, that they don't have full control over the back of the pit, which results in Wadid almost losing his life. But fortunately, because Roccat have a Galio, they can zone away the rest of G2 and they can just tunnel themselves down onto this Baron. So a couple of individuals enabling this play to work out, but against the proper G2 lineup, perhaps this play wouldn't have gone as they would have liked.
Yeah, and I think against the full strength G2 lineup, I think this would have gone very differently, because Roccat, it seemed like they needed to realize that G2 weren't doing anything on the map themselves before Roccat said, oh, okay, we can just land one piece of crowd control, go aggressive and win, because they could have done it maybe 10 minutes earlier. I know that's a heavy criticism. You're playing up against G2. You've got to take any opportunity. So I respect the fact that they did play it out a little slower, but I think this game, we may see a little bit more in the early game coming out of Roccat, because I think they're learning that G2 just aren't a unit with these 3 substitutes, as you'd expect.
The point that we want to make, though, is the fact that this is still good for Roccat, right?
Sure.
The fact is, there are clearly things that they want to try and work on, but they still execute a lot of things very confidently, and I think they found a composition that works for them very nicely.
Yeah, they did. We're going to take a look at the final fight, just as Roccat managed to close it out, as they were miles and miles ahead, of course, and they had an easy time to close it out, as they did with this fight starting in a row.
Yeah, another fight where you get instantly onto Sven, and of course with only a limited amount to keep him safe. from there, it's this crowd control chaining. Deficio talked a lot about, keeping track of the feathers in amongst the fights. It's so difficult that as soon as you misstep, you get taken down. And from there, just again, you push forward onto another objective, and Roccat can advance that lead into 2 inhibitors in the bottom lane. And realistically, G2, their only hope was kind of one last-ditch attempt from Sven cleaning up, but against the Galio, that's not happening on 4 items even as Caitlyn.
And the big thing about that replay that I want to emphasize is that while Pridestalker might not have been super proactive in the early game, mechanically, he's still really good. He landed cocoon after cocoon onto Sven in particular, enabling Wadid to make a lot of these great plays. He did it top lane, he did it in that fight there, and he did it right just before they ended the game. So massive props to this guy coming into his first day and really making a big impact on that at least.
Yeah, I'm happy we got to see some of the champions we thought would be banned out a lot. Is there anything about the combo that Roccat, is there anything that surprised you that was like, oh, I didn't know that's actually a good idea for a combo? That's something we might see. Of course, the Galio in combination with the Zion Roccat is something that seems pretty obvious. Is there anything else that you guys were like, whoa, maybe?
I think that what I always find fascinating is the new ways in which Galio can be used in a bunch of different compositions, because you think like, oh, he's mainly a peeler kind of guy, but then he can be a fantastic initiation tool. And when we saw that massive wombo combo in the bottom lane where you had Rakan ulti into Syndra stun into Galio ulti, like in my head, that wouldn't be considered a wombo combo.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm too old school and my wombo combo is an Amumu ulti, right? But these new wombo combos that can just obliterate lineups, I think is really fun to watch.
Trying to steal terms from other games.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just think that the Caitlyn Lulu worked very well out of G2. I don't think we're going to see the same success out of every bot lane facing off against Xayah Rakan. I think it should be a lot more punishing, but Sven and Mithy with 2 strong champions still look good in the laning.
Yeah, we'll see what the teams decide to go for in the next game. We'll be taking a short break while we run away from the Rift. Herald, she's scary. But fear not, we'll be back in lane for game 2 between Roccat and G2.
They actually left Xayah open.
Hey, okay. All right.
Admin. There we get the synced up recalls. I actually like the fact you can just kill the last few minutes and then step together. It's so beautiful. They're gone.
7 seconds saved, ladies and gentlemen. Constantly looking for the engages. He looks like he's going to find one. Ignite does take down. Featherstorm up and available. Flash forward, pull back. There we go. The Blade Caller. First blood for the Xayah Rakan duo.
Roccat gone for more.
Going in. There's the engage. Now getting the chain taunt, backing it up, getting so much damage down. Sven is down. That is the key member now. Not even worried, does get the 2-man taunt. G2 walk right into it. That's Blanc going down as well. Out comes the Blade Caller. Mithy, though, still gonna survive. Oh, kill. Damage out of nowhere.
Nice.
G2 tanks a cocoon. Immediate chain CC. Down comes the damage. Down goes Sven. All too easy for Roccat. The Blade Caller's coming in. Clean cuts left and right as Hjarnan makes his mark on the opposition. Nope. Roccat are gonna find their first win of the summer season.